Banks and other financial institutions are strengthening their cybersecurity systems ahead of the festive season, a period typically marked by rising fraud attempts and digital threats. Banks are upgrading fraud detection frameworks, investing in new technologies such as real-time monitoring tools, and improving customer awareness initiatives to combat phishing, identity theft, and payment fraud. Regulators' cybersecurity guidelines are also shaping stronger risk management practices across the sector. Institutions are increasingly collaborating with security agencies and industry partners to share intelligence and respond faster to cyber incidents. As digital payments expand, banks aim to balance innovation with robust data protection, looking towards 2026 cybersecurity resilience, advanced threat preventions, and stronger digital safeguards. We have Wale Williams, Chief Information and Technology Officer, UBN, joining us now for the conversation. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
A pleasure. And we know that we're seeing growth in the sector. There's more inclusion, and with growth comes higher risk. So how do you think banks are and should be preparing for the increased cyber threats and fraud attempts, especially during this season where they say everybody's eye is red? Are there specific measures being put in place to protect customers?
The good news is that these days, banks are more proactive in their preparations. We are all aware that with the festive period brings about increased activities in the digital space. Hence, you expect that the fraudsters too will be very active. So what's been going on is you have increased collaboration among banks. Most banks are not working in silos anymore. We're working collectively with the regulators, with the telcos, among ourselves to stem these incidents. So which is reassuring, because ultimately our expectation is that customers should be able to transact with confidence without any fear through this period.
Hopefully, and hopefully, they're given that confidence from the banks. And walk us through your bank's fraud detection and risk management frameworks. How have they evolved over the past year?
So, traditionally, what you have are the fraud detection system are more rule-based. They are reactive, just checking predictive customer behavior. But these days, we've infused what we call machine learning into fraud detection. There are increased activities around artificial intelligence. The plan is such that how does this customers behave normally? Are there deviation towards this? So with technology, in order to build trust, a lot of the technology today makes the fraud detection mechanism more predictive rather than reacting, like the traditional method used to be.
And what role does technology play in enhancing the bank's security posture? Are there any new innovations or tools that are being leveraged to stay ahead of emerging threats?
When you begin to understand that the real currency of banking is trust, the banks have had to invest a lot in improving their threat detection, making it more predictive. And then kudos must also go to the Central Bank of Nigeria. There have been new regulations to enforce banks to invest in what they call behavioral analytics technology, which begins to detect deviation from customer behavior. So a lot of the technology been deployed to improve trust, to enhance customer confidence, and then ensure that the customers are even beginning to be protected against themselves.
Right. And how do you balance the need for digital innovation with the imperative to maintain robust security and risk controls, especially in a rapidly evolving fintech landscape?
So one must understand the fact that these two are not separated. So what has changed in recent times in the industry is the fact that people begin to embed what I call security within the innovation landscape. So right from the design stage, we begin to embed security, begin to embed customer safety into the innovation practices. So they go hand in hand. One is not a break to the innovation space.
And what are the most common types of cyber threats that banks are currently facing, and how are you educating customers to protect themselves?
So one must understand is the fact that even as customers, customers have a bigger role to play in securing the ecosystem. You can deploy as much technology as you want. If the customers don't take their own responsibility, the technology will fail. So today, major threats that people face around what I call social engineering, around phishing. So these are around customer behavior that the threat actors try to play on. So the customer himself, how to, defend, be the last line of defense in that space. And what banks as an industry, what people have been doing is to begin to create awareness. This popular thing around cigarette smokers are liable to die young and co.
Right.
The banks, as they send simple messages, do not disclose your PIN, do not disclose sensitive information. So there are a lot of awareness, which has also increased, especially during this festive period.
Right, and I think we'll get deeper into regulatory requirements in just a moment after this break. We're talking safeguards around your money here on the show. We have joining us the Chief Information and Technology Officer, Wale Williams from UBN. Thank you for your time and perspective. We know we've seen a lot of regulation within your sector. Can you comment on the impact of regulatory requirements such as CBN's cybersecurity guidelines on the bank's operations and risk management strategies?
So what has changed in recent years is the industry practitioners are beginning to see regulation as enabler of trust rather than guardrails to prevent them from innovation. So what the regulations are meant to achieve are provide the minimum baselines to ensure that customer interests consistently are protected. So you have the customer protection team in the central bank being very active to ensure that, irrespective of what happens, customers' interests remain protected. And they prepare what I call the minimum baseline through which the operators must abide with to continue to enhance customer confidence in the system.
And are there collaborations being done with other financial institutions and law enforcement agencies to share intelligence and also combat cybercrime? Do you have examples without mentioning those institutions?
So that's the most interesting developments in the financial ecosystem in Nigeria today that has happened. There have been increased collaboration with the regulators, the Central Bank of Nigeria, with the law enforcement agents, then among the industry practitioners themselves. You find that the chief information officers of banks are actively collaborating. Chief information security officer of banks are actively collaborating to ensure that the space is protected. So that is the biggest assurance, the biggest confidence that we can give to the customer today. It's been a very interesting space these days.
Indeed, and it's been interesting to get your thoughts on the rise of digital payment channels and some of the associated risks. How can banks mitigate these risks while promoting financial inclusion?
So, you can't achieve financial inclusion without the people who use the products that you sell. If they don't feel confident, if they don't feel assured, if they don't feel protected, you cannot achieve that. And that is the contribution that security and compliance are brought into the space. So with active collaboration across industry players, we're beginning to see more of that through the enhanced customer confidence. We're seeing more people feeling more protected and more assured to begin to do more within the payments ecosystem.
And are banks maintaining the security? Would you say banks are maintaining the security and integrity of customer data, particularly in the light of increasing data protection regulations?
So, the regulation has really helped, to ensure that everybody plays by the rule, especially, the Nigerian Data Protection Act has helped. Then today, what you see increasingly is what I call data minimization. You do not ask for what is not necessary for basic, account opening. You don't have to. So you minimize the data collection and ensure that customer data are protected at all times.
Mm-hmm. And we're at the end of the year pretty much. Looking ahead to 2026, what would you say are the top cybersecurity priorities for the bank? And how will you be positioning the institutions to stay ahead of emerging threats?
So, to stay ahead of emerging threats, you need to be abreast of what I call emerging technologies. The name of the game today is artificial intelligence. So, within the fraud fighting space for banks and financial institutions, there is what I call embedded artificial intelligence. People are beginning to use machine learning to make the fraud solutions to be more intelligent, to predict customer behavior pattern better than it used to be. So as we go into 2026, we want to assure the customers that they will become to be, they'll be more protected, they'll be better protected than before, using advanced technology, especially AI.
All right, thank you very much for your time on the show today. Wale Williams, Chief Information and Technology Officer, UBN.
Thank you.